Each and every Monday is $9 Monday at wagertalk.com, and all daily picks packages are priced at only $9, including 5% best bets, normally priced at $35. As an added bonus, any picks packages loaded early for Overnight Tuesday or action during the week will also be priced at $9 until midnight on Monday. So make sure to take advantage of getting these $25 and $35 picks for only $9 before the clock strikes 12 and they return to regular price.
Welcome to the NBA Triple Double Show powered by SportsMemo. I'm your host, Ronald Cabang, also known as handicapper on SportsMemo.com, at handicapper sports on Twitter. I'll be joined by Moneyline Matt and Jeff Michaels to break down 3 games from today's NBA slate. But before we get into those games, I do want to talk about a big promo we got going on over at SportsMemo.com, the March Madness Bonanza Special. We got a lot of college basketball left, guys. You can get the remainder of the college basketball season from your favorite cappers for just $149 each through the national championship. There's no coupon needed for this deal. Once again, that is $149 for the remainder of the college basketball season. Again, that includes all the tournaments through to the national championship game. Head over to sportsmemo.com to make sure you check the site on a daily basis to see what else we got going on over there. We got the free live odds pages. We got plenty of cappers who provide free picks and analysis on a daily basis as well. Also, before you head over there, make sure you hit the like and subscribe button before you leave YouTube here. It only takes a couple clicks, and it does help our show grow tremendously. With that said, let's get Matt and Jeff up here with me. Guys, we have 3 pretty good games today to talk about. I always want to start the show transparent. Monday I went 0-1. Yesterday I got a win. Yesterday, the last 2 on Sunday and Monday, guys, I had 2 unders, and both of those went into overtime. They would have been under if it stayed in regulation. That's kind of the week that I had last week. But yesterday, got one play going for the clients. Took some personal ones. Ended up going 4-0. I didn't want to, just because of the run that I was going in, I didn't want to give out too much. But I gave out one that was my best bet, and that did hit. So hopefully we're going in the right direction to start off this week here. Jeff, let's start with you. How's your week been so far?
I can't complain. We've pretty much broke even. We split, went 1-1 yesterday, had a nice 4% winner earlier in the week, and I got a big 5% play in college basketball tonight that I do like. So looking forward to that one, and I think we got a good spot in that line and took advantage of a bad line there. So looking forward to tonight and the tournament action to come. So
Matt, how's your week going so far?
Yeah, can't really complain either. It's been kind of an average week. On Monday I went 2-3. We were down 3 units. Yesterday I went 3-2, and we were up 3.5 units. So up around 0.5 units on the week. Looking to grow that a little bit this Wednesday. Some good spots. I already got 4 plays loaded. Also, every Monday I've been doing the 10-day challenge, where you essentially put an even money play out on your page, and if you hit 10 days in a row, you grow it all the way to 10K. And we've hit Monday, we've hit Tuesday. I have it loaded already on my page this Wednesday. Again, this is an even money play. And one thing that I want to mention, what I've been doing as of late is I've been getting a lot of my plays loaded around 1 a.m., 2 a.m. So right when you wake up, I have a package ready to roll. And another thing that I want to add is every single day I've done that, I've had some serious closing line value. And that doesn't always mean wins, but as of late, it has helped tremendously. Yesterday, I got Anthony Edwards, 25.5. He closed at 27.5. I got Shai Gilgeous-Alexander at 30.5. He closed at 31.5, 32.5. So depending on the books, of course, but it pays to get those plays early. So I just wanted to mention that as well before starting the show.
That's a good point there as far as putting your plays up the night before and getting that closing line value. Like you said, it doesn't always automatically mean that you're going to win, but it always gives you the best chance to win. So that's a good point there. Let's get into the games today. The first one up, the Thunder and the Suns here. Just when we thought the Thunder were tanking, guys, they pull off 3 straight wins. This is the first of a 3-game road trip after a 6-game homestand. This is also the second leg of back-to-back games after they beat the Warriors outright yesterday. The Suns are also on a 3-game winning streak coming off that win against the Mavs on Sunday. This is the first of a 2-game homestand for them following 4 straight road games. So that's a tough travel spot there. I believe this is KD's first game at home as well in a Suns jersey. So that might be an important thing to think about as well. From an injury standpoint, SGA, Poku, and Jalen Williams are all out for the Thunder. The Suns, they're nearing full health. Only Landry Shamet is the only guy that I see on their injury report listed as out. From a matchup perspective, the Suns won the first matchup this season, 124-115 as 9-point favorites at home. SGA didn't play that game either. The Phoenix Suns did have a full squad, but their squad does look a little bit different this time around here. Jeff, let's start with you. What do you think about this game here? Are you looking towards the Sun, or do you think the Thunder can take care of business without SGA?
Yeah, you said it. This Suns team looks a little bit different this time around. I think that's definitely a big factor coming into this one. But, neither one of the teams are in a very ideal travel situation. Phoenix does have the rest advantage. They got 2 days off. Like you said, OKC pulled off the win again last night. But surprisingly enough, the teams have split the series, at least against the spread, over the last 3 years. The teams are 4-4 in their last 8 meetings, but Phoenix has won 6 out of the 8 games straight up. But you look at the runs that these teams are on. Oklahoma City, that 3-game win streak, they're winning by over 15 points per game, and they've shot 50% or better from the field in all 3 games. Phoenix, they're winning those games by double digits too. They're winning by 13 points. And, you mentioned it. This is a big switch here. First game on the road for OKC after 6 straight home games. But they're 11-2 on the road after consecutive or more games that they covered against the spread, and they've controlled the ball well. They've had 3 straight games where they've led the turnover margin by 4 or more, and they're actually 10-1 against the spread in that situation in the current tenure of their coach. But I'm also kind of looking at the over here. I'm not in love with this side. The big line here, I do think it'll be electric with KD in the new atmosphere. But a lot of trends pointing me towards the over too. Oklahoma City 14-5 off a home win this season. I mean, they're 6-0-1 to the over in the last 7 games overall. And you look at Phoenix, even a team that has kind of trended towards the under, is 4-2 over under in the last 6 games. And a big one, 17-6 to the over after putting up 130 or more points in the previous game. So I think I'm looking at the over here tonight.
Yeah, I like that look a lot, actually. I mean, I think we see the same things here. We're thinking that I think the current form is what I'm thinking about, especially with the Suns and with KD. If you look at the last 2 games, they've gone over their totals in both of those by a good margin. And like I said, this is their first home game with the Suns at home. I think he's going to have a big homecoming. Suns should be able to get whatever they want offensively against this Thunder squad. I just don't think there's much motivation for the Suns to play defense tonight with SGA out. We talk about it all season long, right? When that key player is out for the opposing team, there really is no motivation. We don't see it a lot and that's why a lot of those teams who are missing those key players are covering games because the teams that are facing them, they don't really care or they don't show a lot of motivation there. But the other thing to mention too, the Suns have a really tough schedule coming up. They got the Kings, Warriors, and Bucks on deck. This is somewhat of a sandwich spot, I would say, for the Suns here. So I think they just focus on the offensive side of the ball, don't play any defense. And in that first game between each other, they didn't have SGA, but there's guys like Isaiah Joe who put up 28 points that game. I think he hit like 6 3-pointers. He's someone that you could probably look at from a prop perspective, right, Matt? What do you think about this?
Yeah, I think that's a great point. It's a lot of people don't really know about Isaiah Joe all that much, but this dude's been absolutely balling. Especially from the 3-point line. His 3-point prop might be a good one. I could see him taking probably 5 or 6 threes in this matchup. And one thing with this Oklahoma City Thunder team that's really impressed me is how confident they are as a squad. And I say that with Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, without Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. This is just a team that has a ton of depth. And, going forward, next year they're going to have Chet Holmgren. Hopefully they bring some guys in through free agency and stuff like that. they're just a really fun team to watch. And I think it's going to continue tonight against the Phoenix Suns. This is a Thunder team who is on a back-to-back. They beat the Golden State Warriors last night. But I went back and looked with the games without Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. Straight up, the Thunder are 4-5 on the season and have never been beaten by more than 13 points when Shai is not in the lineup. So for me, I do like the look of this Thunder team, plus 13.5 point spread. Don't know if I'll get there. I don't know if it's one of those games I really want to hinge on a Thunder plus 13.5. But I definitely do like that overlook, like you guys were talking about. This is a Thunder team who has a ton of depth, like I was just saying. Trey Mann coming in off the bench, running that point guard position. Aaron Wiggins has been very solid on top of that. Isaiah Joe. So this is a team that has enough depth to continue to score with or without Shai Gilgeous-Alexander and with or without Jalen Williams. And my goodness, how impressive has Jalen Williams been this season? The dude's just a baller. I love watching this team. And, if you haven't watched the Suns either, this is definitely a great team to pay attention to. They're a team that's up and coming. They're a team that when they start playing good basketball as well, they tend to continue to play good basketball. So for me, I would be with the Thunder plus 13.5, but I honestly think the two of you may have talked me into liking the over a little bit more here.
Yeah, another thing to add, Matt, I know you mentioned, how the Thunder do without SGA. I also looked at that last night, and they're also 5-3 to the over. If you look at their more current form, like all the games within 2023 this year, they're 5-1 to the over without SGA. And the other thing to mention, that one game that went under was a game that went under by the hook, and it was 115-124, a loss to the Kings. The total was 239.5, so they barely went under, but that was a super high total. And another thing to mention too, if you don't like the big over here, one thing you can do is actually pivot towards that Thunder team total as well. Their team total is at 110 tonight. The Thunder have gone over 110 in 8 of those 9 games without SGA this season. Actually, all 8 of those games, they hit 115 at least. The one that they did stay under, well, they scored 106 against the Wolves, and this was the second game of the season. And both teams in that matchup really don't even look like how they do now as far as who they have in the roster. Other than that, guys, I do like the over. Maybe a pivot towards the team total on the Thunder. Just like Matt, I mean, that plus 13.5 seems like a lot, but I just feel like the Suns can really put up like 130 if they wanted to tonight. So with that said, let's move on to the next one here. We got the Mavs and the Pelicans. The Mavs are coming off of a win over the Jazz last night, so the second leg of back-to-back games for them. This is also the first of a 2-game road trip following 6 straight home games. The Pelicans, they're on a 2-game losing streak, actually losing and failing to cover in 6 of their last 7 games. This is the first of a 4-game homestand following 3 straight road games for them. From an injury perspective, JaVale McGee and Reggie Bullock are both out. Actually, both questionable for the Mavs. Alvarado and Zion and Nance are still out for the Pelicans. This is their 4th matchup this season. The Mavs are up 2-1 with all the home teams winning so far. Tonight, they're in where are they playing? They're playing in New Orleans, I believe, right? So are we thinking that the home team takes care of business tonight, Matt? What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I personally do. I actually like the look of the New Orleans Pelicans in this spot, and I know they haven't been playing good basketball. They're 1-6 over their last 7 straight up. Like you said, have only covered once in those 7 games as well. But I'm looking at the Dallas Mavericks here, and they're on a back-to-back. They just beat the Utah Jazz. It was a long, full-effort game on top of that, where they needed everything from Kyrie and Luka Doncic on top of that. And now, that's a tough travel spot. You play at home in Utah, a late game, a game where, again, they had to run their starters the entire match. And now they're heading straight out to New Orleans to face off against a Pelicans team who's looking to get right at home. And typically when it's their first game at home, Ron, you and I talk about this all the time. When it's the first game at home, we tend to fade that home team and wait for the second game. But this is one of those spots for me where I just think this Pelicans team needs this game so bad that they're going to come to play. And, last game against the Sacramento Kings, I watched Brandon Ingram, and he was aggressive in terms of driving, but once he got to the paint, he just kept dishing it out. And, his teammates were just missing everything. There's no way around it. In this matchup, I don't think he's going to be dishing. I think Brandon Ingram is going to be very aggressive here. He needs 20 to 25 shots. He needs to be that guy for the Pelicans to win in this spot. And in all honesty, I think this Pelicans team does match up well against the Dallas Mavericks. You know, you have long, lengthy defenders like Herb Jones, who I wouldn't be surprised if he matches up with Luka. He switches on to Kyrie a little bit. Trey Murphy III, he's also a solid defender on top of that, a good outside shooter, and someone who plays much better at home. So because of that, again, I think that this Pelicans team will match up very well. This is also a Pelicans team that is 20-11 straight up at home this season, playing far better at home, while the Dallas Mavericks are 12-19 straight up on the road. And I'm very understanding to the fact that both of these teams are very inconsistent on the offensive end, inconsistent in terms of wins and losses. But when you look at this Dallas Mavericks team and you look at their defensive efficiency rating, a lot of that came with Dorian Finney-Smith. Dorian Finney-Smith is now in Brooklyn, and they don't have that guy who can really match up with Brandon Ingram all that well. So I think Brandon Ingram is actually the key in this matchup, and I think he's going to exploit the Dallas Mavericks to the point where this New Orleans Pelicans team not only covers the spread, but wins this game outright. So I'm with the Pelicans in this spot.
I like that look, especially the Brandon Ingram look. He's actually going to be one of the guys that I focus in on when it comes to the best bet section. I'll talk about it later and break that down a little bit more. But you brought up a lot of great points there as far as that goes. For me, it looks like if I'm just looking at recent form, the last 5 games specifically, both these teams are really struggling on the defensive side of the ball. Dallas 24th in the league in defensive rating, Pelicans 20th in defensive rating. Other than that, it's sort of like a tale of two opposites here. Mavs 8th in the league in pace of play, while the Pelicans are 23rd. Mavs 9th in offensive rating, Pelicans 26th. I personally think this one does go over due to the lack of defense on both sides of the ball, but I just don't know if I'm super confident enough to put my money on it. On one side, the Mavs have allowed opponents to go over their team total in 8 of the last 9 games, but the Pelicans, they've gone under their team total in 9 of their last 10 games. This is something that it's kind of funky here. Like, I do get your take on the Pelican side here, but maybe the Mavs offense might be just too much here, and they be the drivers for the over. But to me, like I said, as much as I want to take the over here, I just don't know if the Pelicans will be able to do their part to get it over. But for the most part, whatever they get done today, it's gonna have to run through BI. So that's a good point by you, Matt. Jeff, what are your thoughts on this one? Are you looking at a side or maybe the total, maybe a prop?
Yeah, I was actually taking a look at BI too. I thought that was the way that, if the Pelicans have any chance at this game, that's the way that they have to attack. But if I recall, one of the most recent shows actually I did on here, we were talking about this Mavericks team, and it was one of the early games that they had Kyrie. And, I just can't back this Dallas team really until I see them prove, what they can do. We all know what they're capable of. And the fact that now technically they're the highest scoring duo in the league, granted they've only played how many games together outside of Jason Tatum and Brown. But, now it's definitely a switched up situation, but Dallas has only covered 2 out of their last 9 games. And you guys said it, they come in with no rest. And the only thing that they've really done consistently, Ron, to your point, is played bad defense recently. 8 of their last 10 opponents have shot 51% or better from the field. So well over 50% they're giving up from the field in these games, and they have the edge against this New Orleans team in the last couple of years. They're 7-3 against the spread, but the teams are actually just 2-2 straight up and against the spread in New Orleans. So pretty even matchup there. I think that you guys said it. There's more to play for here for New Orleans tonight. I think BI has the matchup here that he can take advantage of. And I think it's a good situation for him. And I still wait to really see the 2 guards, coming out of Dallas be able to play together at a championship level that we know and thought was potentially possible when we saw Kyrie come to this Dallas team. So one day I may be back in the Mavericks, but today I'm with Pelicans today.
Yeah, I feel like the Mavs have been one of the worst ATS teams all season long, regardless of the situation that they're in. So, yeah, it's really tough to back them. But at some point, like you said, we're gonna back the Mavs here. They're gonna eventually turn things around from a spread perspective. But just right now, it doesn't seem like it's the time. Let's move on to the last game here that we're gonna be talking about: the Raptors and the Clippers. Raptors coming off of a loss to the Nuggets on Monday. This is the fourth game of a 5-game road trip. So they've been traveling quite a bit here. Clippers are coming off of a win over the Grizzlies, but obviously the Grizzlies have been shorthanded for a bit. This is the second of a 4-game homestand. From an injury perspective, nothing of significance on the Raptors side. They've become one of the more healthier teams in the league. On the opposite side, the Clippers, they are without Norman Powell. The Clippers won and covered the first matchup of the season, 124-113 as 4-point dogs in Toronto. What are your guys' thoughts on this one? Does Toronto get their revenge tonight, or one thing, before you guys get into that, one thing that I do want to mention is before, earlier in the season, Matt, we talked about the Clippers a lot being really a cash cow for unders at home specifically, but they've been going over lately. I think, yeah, I mean, a big thing has to do with Westbrook, right? I mean, what are your thoughts on this game here? I can't see an under in this game. Only way that I could look is an over, but yeah, I'm not 100% sure here. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, for me, if I'm being honest, this is a game that I'm probably staying away from. In terms of the Clippers or the Raptors taking a side, both these teams are just so inconsistent at this point in time. I talked about the Raptors on our last episode of going against the Nuggets, and the Raptors covered that spread. And that was a spot where I was pretty unsure what was going to happen there, just because, again, with the team and the starting lineup that this Toronto team has, with Fred VanVleet, Gary Trent, Scotty Barnes, Pascal Siakam, now Jakob Poeltl, and, they're a talented squad. They can go out there and they can compete with anyone. But I'm just unsure when that's going to happen. And like to your point earlier, right now, they're in the middle of a 4-game road trip. I would imagine that they're getting a little tired here. This is, in my eyes, a bigger spot for the Clippers. They do need this game. So if there's anywhere that I would go here, it would probably be with the Clippers. But on top of that, again, to your point, with the over-under being at 230, I actually think I would go with the under here, just because of the fact that, this Toronto team, 4-game road trip right now, they're pretty far from home. Toronto's a long distance from LA, not sleeping in their own bed. They just played good against this Denver team. And again, going back into the consistency issues of this Raptors team, I don't know if I can count on them to have 2 good games in a row or 3 good games in a row. I'm unsure what they did against Washington. Yeah, they're coming off a win against Washington. Then they lost to Denver. Now they're against the Clippers. So they've been playing okay basketball. And again, it's pretty rare for this Raptors team to actually have 3 good games in a row. But for me, this is a game that I'm not going to have an official play on. I really doubt it. Maybe I'll run a same-game parlay or something along that tonight. But I'm more so focusing in on that New Orleans game and the Dallas game. I think there's more opportunity there. But for me, if I had to go anywhere, I think I would side with the Clippers and the under.
Yeah, the Clippers side makes sense to me. I mean, obviously their defense has been struggling, especially since Westbrook joined the squad. One thing that I remember is one of the post-game interviews, one of the head coaches talked about going from east to west. And, when they travel from all the way from the East Coast to the West Coast, they typically say that they get that jet lag on the second game, not the first game. So the Raptors here, they came from Washington, D.C., then they go to Denver, and then this is their second game going from east to west. So maybe they do get that jet lag here and struggle offensively. But what are your thoughts on this one, Jeff? Do you think it's an under game here, or do you kind of see the Clippers continue to be an over team for the current moment?
I think this is an exciting game to watch. I'll tell you that. And there's a couple things that I like, but I wouldn't say much from a betting angle that I love about this game. Ron, I think I'm looking at the over. You kind of mentioned it before too. Toronto, they've gone over in 3 straight games too. And from the stats side of it, 5 straight games that they've allowed opponents to shoot 50% or better. And they've had back-to-back games themselves that they've shot 50% or better. So they've actually shown up on both sides of the ball to some perspective, to some extent, even though they may not have the record to show for it. And you got a Clippers team that is 6-2 to the over in the last 8, and they're 8-4 to the over in the last 12. But I think my most confident look here is actually looking at Siakam. I almost put his props within my best bet today because Clippers, they've allowed the second most points to power forwards in the league. It's not going to be their strongest position from a defensive side, and they've allowed the second most threes to the power forward position per game, which is something that Siakam's done better this year, really, than he has ever done in his career. He had 8 straight games that he put up 20 points or more, but he has struggled in the last couple. His points are at 22.5. I would look over there. His threes are at 1.5. I would look over there. And, honestly, I believe his PRA, his points, rebounds, and assists are at 34.5. And even if he stays under 20 points in this situation, he's one of the few players that are among the tops in all 3 of those statistical categories on their team. And he could take advantage of that power forward position against the Clippers tonight, too. So I could be looking to attack some Siakam props tonight.
Yeah, this might be one of those games that you do look at the prop section. I was kind of looking at that too as well. One thing to mention on the Clippers side here, especially with just the difference between with Westbrook versus without him, offensive rating increased from 114.6 to 117 with Westbrook. Their pace of play increased dramatically. They went from 96.75 to 101.85 with Westbrook. And then the biggest change, I think, to me, has really been their defense. The Clippers' defensive rating went from 114.3 to 122.8 with Westbrook in the lineup. So that's the biggest reason why I can't take an under on a Clippers game, is because of that pace of play and the lack of defense. And it kind of goes before even before Westbrook joined the squad. The Clippers have allowed opponents to go over their team total in 10 of their last 12 games, and Westbrook has only been with them for 6 games. On the Raptors side, like you mentioned, Jeff, that they've gone over in 3 straight. One of them did go over because of OT, but for the most part, they're getting a lot healthier and their offense is starting to click a little bit. They've gone over their team total in 8 of the last 12 road non-conference games. If I was forced to put money on this game, I would say Raptors team total over would be the way that I go, or the full game over, one of those specific ways. But with that said, I really do actually like, from a prop perspective, Westbrook assists. His assist continues to stay at 6.5. He's averaging 12 potential assists per game with the Clippers here. I know he had a couple OT games, but even if you take those out, he's still averaging close to 10 potential assists per game. It's just the fact that some of the guys are not making the shots, especially a couple of games ago. He had I think he had 13 potential assists and still didn't go over his number. So there's opportunity for him with the pace of play here. I think if I was to put money on something, it would probably be that Westbrook over assist here. With that said, guys, let's get on to the best bet section. Matt, let's start with you here. What's your best bet for today's show, and talk about what you got going on the premium side?
Yeah, like I was saying, guys, I've been getting my packages up around 2 a.m. So when you wake up in the morning, if you want to grab something, it's already there, ready to roll. And you have a better advantage in terms of the lines. I've been getting some really good closing line value on top of that. I have 4 plays loaded right now. And today, it was kind of funny because both of my best bets have been, and the last 2 I've actually missed. It's been Trae Young and Brandon Ingram. And once again, the 2 players that I absolutely love today are Trae Young and Brandon Ingram. So today, however, I found so many trends attached with Trae Young and this Washington Wizards team. So the best bet for today is Trae Young over 25.5 points. And for Trae Young and the Atlanta Hawks, they're traveling on the road to face off against the Washington Wizards. The Atlanta Hawks are coming off 2 straight losses against the Miami Heat. In the latest one, Trae Young shot 9 for 17 and had 25 points. And that game actually marks 3 games in a row where Trae Young has not broken the 30-point mark. And on the season, only twice has Trae Young gone more than 3 games where he has not broken the 30-point mark. And that was 4 games in a row and 5 games in a row. So typically, Trae Young does not go more than 3 games hitting that 30-point mark. He's at 25.5 tonight. So once again, I think it's a very good spot. And the Washington Wizards actually might be Trae Young's favorite team to face throughout the entire league, and the stats actually back that up. because right now the Washington Wizards are 20th in terms of adjusted defense throughout the entire league. They have Kristaps Porzingis at the center position and are generally very soft in the middle. So you guys have heard me talk about that high pick and roll with Trae Young. He loves to use that float game. He's actually been hitting some of his threes as of late too. Earlier in the season, he wasn't taking that many threes, was missing them a lot on top of that. So now I think he's starting to get in a little bit more of a groove. And Trae Young is also one of the best throughout the league in terms of drawing fouls, okay? This season, though, Trae Young is averaging 31 points and 7 assists when facing this Wizards team and has actually gone over 25.5 against the Washington Wizards in 8 of his last 10 games. Okay, 6 of those games he went over 30 points. 2 of those games he went over 40 points on top of that. So not only does Trae Young tend to go over against the Washington Wizards, he tends to absolutely go off. And you guys have heard me talk about this before. When your team has their backs against the wall, like the Atlanta Hawks have right now, those are 2 brutal losses to the Miami Heat. You know, they're in the same division. They're both in playoff contention, fighting for seeding. So 2 terrible losses against the Miami Heat. The guy that I think they're going to look to tonight is going to be Trae Young. I expect him to be very aggressive. I actually didn't go points plus assists because this is one of those matchups where I think Trae is just going to try and focus on the scoring here. And of course, he will probably have 5, 6, 7 assists, something like that. But I don't know if I'm going to get to that 10 assist range. So for me, it's Trae Young over 25.5 points tonight.
Yeah, I think one thing that I like about that play a lot is like what you mentioned, how he plays against his Wizards team historically. It seems like that's it. Seems I don't know. Sometimes I don't get what the motivation is with one player with a specific team, but sometimes it's something that you just go back to the well with. So that's a good look there. Jeff, let's go with you here. What's your best bet for today, and what do you have going on the premium side as well?
Yeah, I kind of mentioned it at the top of the show, but I do have a big 5% college basketball play that I'm looking forward to tonight. We're on a 9-2 sides run on 5% plays and 11-4 overall in the last 15. So I think we took advantage of a good line, got it early. If you got it with me, if not, go check it out now before it changes too much more. But, you know, that Miami team that Matt mentioned that beat the Hawks, you know, a couple games in a row there, I'm looking at that game tonight, playing against, my Cleveland team, but I'm not looking at the side. I'm looking at the total in this one, looking at it staying under tonight. 4 out of the last 5 meetings between these Cavs and the Heat have stayed under the total. I know it's not, not quite the Cleveland-Miami matchup that we used to have a couple years ago, but, I think that this is going to be a defensive matchup here, no question. I mean, the only position that Cleveland's really struggled with defensively has been that power forward position. Surprisingly, Evan Mobley can play at multiple levels, but he's gotten beat at, in a couple different moments in time. And that's one position that I don't think Miami can really take advantage of them tonight. I mean, they got a couple guys, obviously, but Kevin Love's been sick. I believe illness has been the reason that he was missed, and I believe he's still questionable tonight at the last time that I checked. But Cleveland's really trended under, especially in revenge situations. They lost the last one. They lost the last one at home. And since Bickerstaff took over, Cleveland's 37-19 to the under, revenging a home loss. They're 41-19 to the under, playing on the road, revenging a loss in general. And this is only the 3rd game that Miami's been a home dog this season. They're 0-2 over under. So both of those games trended to the under. And in a total that's this low, I believe it's still at 215. Miami's 1-7 over under in their last 8 with a total of 215 or lower, and Cleveland's 1-5. So both these teams are trending to the under, even with the low total, especially with Cleveland looking at the revenge angle here tonight. So I like this one staying under that 215.
Yeah, I actually like that look a lot there. I like, seeing that total last night open at 212, I believe, or 212.5, and it went up to 215. I don't really agree with that total moving up there. I like your look on this under. It makes a lot of sense to me here. For my best bet for today, I talked about a little bit earlier. Brandon Ingram here is the way that I'm going to be going for the best bet, over 35.5 PRA. He's gone over this number in 9 of his last 12 games. The Mavs are the 4th best PRA matchup versus forwards this season. BI played in only one of the 3 games that they faced each other so far this season. In that game, he went for 26, 9, and 7, well above the 35.5 mark we see today. He has the ability to hit 30 plus points today, especially with how McCollum has been struggling here. And there was news, McCollum has been playing with an injury, and I feel like I think he mentioned that he's going to play through the rest of the season with that injury, and it's on his hand. And that's something that's going to help him. That's going to have him struggling offensively for the remainder of the season. So they're really going to have to rely on Brandon Ingram to score until Zion comes back, whenever that happens. The other thing to mention, the reason why I picked a PRA, because he's actually averaging 12.1 potential assists per game, also over 7 rebound chances per game. So he has a lot of opportunities in this high-paced matchup to grab extra stats, just in case he doesn't get over the points mark on his own. But I really do think he can probably hit 30 plus today, just points alone. So we're just adding an extra few assists and rebounds to that. I think 35.5 is a good number here for Brandon Ingram. On the premium side, I only have one play up. It is on a total. I think one thing that I'm going to be adding is this PRA to the premium side, and I think I'm going to have 2 more plays to add by the end of the day. 2 things. I just waiting on some injury report status stuff. One thing that I saw yesterday was Philly not announcing an injury or a player being out until 45 minutes before the game starts. So some of these key games where I feel like we're really close to the number, I really want to just wait until the injuries. And as much as I want to post, plays overnight, those things are really I'm really cautious of, because we're playing with money here, and I want to make sure that the games that I'm close to with injury implications, back-to-backs and things like that, really got to wait for this injury report status to come out. Other than that, guys, I think we broke down the 3 games that we talked about pretty well. Matt, any last words before we cut out here? I know you're on the third day of your 10K challenge or whatever it's called. Yeah.
Yeah, so that's a free play over on my SportsMemo page. I've been giving that out every single day. We're gonna start that every single Monday, go as long as we can. If we make it 10 days, we're just gonna keep rolling. If we lose, it'll start back up the next Monday. So trying to just continue to double up every day there. And, one thing I wanted to comment on was, once again, Brandon Ingram. I love that play, Ron. And, with the Dallas Mavericks, this is a totally different team without Dorian Finney-Smith. They can't guard that small forward/power forward position very well at this point in time. And they're actually, I believe, 3rd or 4th worst in terms of rebounds given up to the small forward position on top of that. So I think this is a great look for Brandon Ingram. I'm totally with you there, Ron. And looking to just keep the positive streak going. We're coming off a positive day yesterday and just looking to turn it over into this Wednesday. So best of luck tonight, everyone.
Yeah, Jeff, any last words before we cut out here?
Yeah, no, as always, guys, it's been a pleasure. Love talking NBA with you guys, and looking forward to maybe shooting a little March Madness stuff around at some point here too. But a lot of exciting NBA action as we close into the postseason too. So looking forward to see how all that plays out.
I love it. Once again, head over to sportsmemo.com. You can find myself, Matt, and Jeff Michaels over there. Check out the amazing deals we got going on a daily basis, the promos we got going on. Utilize the amazing live odds page, and also the free picks and analysis that we cappers give out on not only just NBA, but other sports as well. Also, make sure you hit the like and subscribe button before you go as well. With that said, our next show on Friday, I believe we have Tony Finn from Wager Talk, if I'm not mistaken. We're starting to integrate some of the Wager Talk folks over to the show, and I'm really excited about that. And that's going to be same time, 10 a.m. Pacific Standard, over on the same channel here. Till then, good luck with all your action. Peace.
Each and every Monday is $9 Monday at wagertalk.com, and all daily picks packages are priced at only $9, including 5% best bets, normally priced at $35. As an added bonus, any picks packages loaded early for overnight Tuesday or action during the week will also be priced at $9 until midnight on Monday. So make sure to take advantage of getting these $25 and $35 picks for only $9 before the clock strikes 12 and they return to regular price.